Today we have a really exciting one today. We're going to can some roasted tomatoes, onion, and garlic, and I'm very excited to have this on my shelf for this winter. Welcome to Grow and Preserve. I'm Carter. I'm glad you're here today. Let's get started. I'm going to bring you down so you can see what we're doing. I have 12 pounds of tomatoes in from the garden, so we're going to get those chopped up, cored, chopped up, and put on the roasting pan. And then the recipe calls for 1.5 cups of chopped onions. I have 3 very small onions. I might have to pull out a 4th. I don't know. We'll see how far that goes. And then it calls for 4 bulbs of garlic. So I have just a handful of garlic, and we're going to do it that way. So the original recipe, well, actually, let's go back. Where I originally saw this recipe was on a YouTube channel called Wisdom Preserved. And she even said in her description that she almost didn't post this recipe because there were so many steps and so much going on. And I thought, well, that's ridiculous. It doesn't need to be that complicated. So I was looking through the Ball Blue Book. Ball Blue Book recipe is basically the same as the Ball Blue Book roasted Roma tomatoes recipe. So they go through all these steps as well, which I don't know, that's a lot of steps. We don't need to do all those steps. We're gonna make it much easier, much faster. We're still going to water bath can this. That's what drew me to this recipe, because I know not everyone has a pressure canner. This is essentially the same recipe I use for my trifecta sauce, but I leave the skins on the tomatoes and I blend everything up and just turn it into a sauce. And I pressure can that for 25 minutes. So ordinarily I would pressure can these for 25 minutes. But since I do have water bath instructions here, I think we're going to do that so more people are able to do this one, because it looks so amazing in the jar. So I'm excited about that. So we're going to get started, and I'm going to start chopping up my garlic. Now, because I'm not using whole heads of garlic, I'm just going to cut the little edges off, throw them on the aluminum foil here, and then I'll sprinkle them with some olive oil and close them up. I was watching these 2 cute girls on Wisdom Preserved do this recipe, and I just kept thinking, oh my goodness, all these steps. And we're blistering the tomatoes, and then we're putting them in paper bags, and we're steaming them, and then we're trying to peel off the skins. And oh no, that was a lot of work. And then they're roasting the onions separate, or the garlic separately, and then they're cooking the onion in a pan. I don't know. So we're gonna do it all together. And it's gonna turn out just fine. And this recipe calls for some olive oil on top, actually 1/4 cup, which I don't think we need all of that. Wrap those up tightly. And I'm going to put those on a dish with my onions. I'm going to do these in some big chunks to roast them, because I'm going to be dicing everything much smaller. Not everything. I'm going to be dicing the onions and garlic much smaller when they come out. So rather than suffer through dicing up a raw onion, I'm just going to put some big chunks on the. Oops. Have my jars heating up in the water bath canner behind me. 6 quarts won't fit in my, or sorry, 6 pints won't fit in my small water bath canner, so I'm using the big one. which holds, I don't know, 12 or 14 or something like that. So I have a lot of space fillers in there, which I hate to do simply because of the water it uses, but that's what we're gonna do. Okay, I'm gonna get the onions and the garlic in the oven. I have it at 425. Now we're gonna get these tomatoes taken care of. I was really hoping that I'd have more tomatoes to do this with, hoping for 18 pounds, but I only had the 12, and I just barely had the 12. Okay, so I'm taking out the core, and I'm just gonna chop them in half and put them skin side up. We're gonna get as many on this pan as we can. I'll probably have to start another pan. Taking off any bad spots. Yeah, that whole tomato's goner. All right, I'm gonna finish getting these chopped up, and we'll be right back. All right, I have 2 trays of the tomatoes out, and I have the onions and garlic out. So those are over there cooling. I have 1 more tray in the oven because I had so many tomatoes. So the directions now say take the peels off and seed them and then chop them. Well, I'm not gonna worry about the seeds because that doesn't bother me. But when you do them as halves, unlike the directions which say do them as wholes, the skins come off so easily. So I'm just gonna pick these skins off. I'm gonna save them, and I will dry them and turn them into tomato powder. These are still a little warm, but that's all right. Look how easily they're coming off. There's no need for the paper bag and trying to scrape them off with a knife. I don't know why Ball would make it so convoluted, but they did. See how easily these peel off. Took about 20 minutes in the oven. Again, I'm on 425. And then I'm gonna put these in the pot and I'm gonna mash them. I'm not gonna bother with cutting them. Whoa. So if you go watch the video over at Wisdom Preserved, they're so cute and they have so many wonderful things they've canned, and a beautiful canning pantry if you're into looking at those. But I tell you what, they took the long way around on this one, and they knew it, and because of that they almost didn't post the video. But I think the end result is going to be worth it, and I think we're probably cutting off 45 minutes and 3 or 4, 5 steps in the preparation. All right. Check on this next batch. Okay, they're fine. So I'm going to put these in the pot. So I'm going to take my ground beef masher crush these. Okay, those are crushed. Gotta get the next batch. Let's do the onions and garlic next. I'll get that other batch of tomatoes a little more time to cool. I'm going to get these chopped up. Much fewer tears when you cut them when they're cooked. No tears at all. All right, that looks great. All right, let's see what this garlic looks like. Ooh, I wish you could smell it. Looks delicious, smells delicious. Get this chopped up as well. Yum. Okay. Oh, God, that smells so good. All right, I'm going to get the rest of the tomatoes ready and into the pot. And I'll bring you back. We'll heat this up real quickly if it needs it by then. It may not. And then we'll get it in the jars. Okay, I have my 8 hot pints out here. Let's finish up with the seasonings. The recipe uses oregano, and the girls used oregano and thyme. I think I am not going to season mine with herbs because I like the flexibility in pulling something off this jar to go Italian or Mexican or just throw it in a soup. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do the salt and pepper. So it calls for a half a teaspoon of pepper, and it calls for a teaspoon of salt, which sounds ridiculously low to me. But we're going to go with it. That mixed up, and then because we're water bath canning, we're going to add a tablespoon of lemon juice in each of these jars. You could use citric acid. I think it's 1/8 of a teaspoon of citric acid in a pint-sized jar. When I'm pressure canning my sauce version of this, which is just a blended version of this recipe basically, I don't have to use the lemon juice, but I like the taste of it, so I use it anyway. All right, I have 8 jars out here. The girls got 6 pints. The ball book says 4 quarts, which in theory is 8 pints. So we'll see how many I get. The quantities of ingredients were the same. Oh, another bottle of lemon juice. There's a half a teaspoon. I'm just going to put the lemon juice in the first 6. And then we'll see how far we get. And this sauce is still pretty hot, so I'm not going to worry about that. I will say that the seeds are prevalent in here, so if you don't like seeds, you will want to take the time to de-seed. It does not bother me. I'm going to fill these to a 1/2 inch, but I'll get rid of some of the liquid. Oops, that was a little full. Get just some tomatoes in here without all the liquid. Over on a couple of these. I am going to have enough for probably one more. Go ahead and take a little of this off the top. 1/2 inch headspace is what we're going for. This looks good. Okay, I probably have another 1/2 pint in here. I think I'm just going to use that in the Brunswick stew we're making tomorrow. We'll go with 7 pints. Okay, I don't think we have any bubble issues, but we're going to debubble. Yes, I did have some bubbles. All right, now let's clean those rims. and get them in the canner. Can for an hour and 20 minutes, which is a crazy long time, but that's what we're gonna do. Again, as I said, when I turn this into sauce, which is basically just taking this and putting it in the blender and then cooking it down a bit, I do 25 minutes in the pressure canner, but we're gonna water bath today. This would be pretty with some green oregano in here, but again, that limits me, I think. Couple of nights here we're gonna have 26 degrees, and like 3 nights in a row we'll be in the high 20s. So needless to say, I'm gonna have to harvest all my tomatoes and peppers, ready or not, by then. So I'll have another big batch of green tomatoes to ripen. That's what these were, green tomatoes that ripened from the last batch. I'm just putting it on until it catches, and then just a smidge more. So when you're gonna water bath can for an hour and 20 minutes, make sure you have plenty of water. This lid. I'm gonna use that lid. It was already looked like it was, you know, sucked down. I don't want anything messing with my tomatoes. See how pretty these are? A little hot to be holding. I'm gonna put these in the canner, and we're gonna bring them up to a full boil and let them boil for an hour and 20 minutes, which is a very long time to maintain water in a canner. So make sure you solidly have 2 to 3 inches of water in there above the top of the jars, and that your canner is filled in. So my canner is huge, so I have another 6, 7, 8 jars in there just as placeholders. They don't have any lids on them. They're just full of water, and they're just gonna keep these upright because I have made that mistake once and I'll never make it again. So I'm gonna get these in the canner, get it rolling, get the timer going, and I'll be back to show you how they look when we're done. All right, we're back. Man, an hour and 20 minutes in a water bath canner is a long time. So I wanna reiterate what I said before I put these in the canner. I started with 3 inches above my jars. So here's the first jar to come out. The water was 3 inches above the top of the jar in the canner because it had to go so long. Normally I would just do 1 inch to 2 inches. I barely have 1/4 of an inch left over the top of the jars now. So make sure you get plenty of water in there. All right, let's get these out. Ooh, they're looking very beautiful. I said they really would be nice with some green oregano in them, but they're more useful to me like this. Aren't they pretty? I love already having the onions in there. Like I said, this is basically the recipe for my trifecta sauce. And it makes it so easy not to have to chop the onions again. To already have all that good flavor in the sauce. Now I will say that the girls' jars probably are prettier than mine because they don't have any seeds floating in theirs, and they do have those herbs in there. But I bet mine took half the amount of prep time to get there. So if you have the patience to get rid of your seeds, and if you want to add the herbs, go right ahead. It looked absolutely divine. However, I don't have the patience for that. So I'm perfectly happy to have this on my shelf. As you probably discovered in canning, there are some shortcuts that are just fine, and some you may want to really think through before you try them. This one is absolutely fine. All of the ingredients stayed the same, the pH stayed the same, the timing stayed the same. All I did was roast all the vegetables together. So I'm going to send you to another recipe that I also take a shortcut in, and it cut the prep time in probably more than in half. But if you like this one, you'll like that one too. So thank you so much. I'll see you soon.